You are a grounded Taurus soul, and if no one has reminded you of this today, let this message be the first to meet you where you are. There is a quiet kind of abundance already moving through your life, even if you have not fully recognized it yet. And something within you is beginning to remember what has always been true beneath the surface. This is not just another video or passing message, but a deeply intentional reminder arriving at a precise moment where your path feels like it is standing at the edge of something larger than what you can currently explain. Here, the language is not only spoken through symbols of the stars, but through the quieter language of your own inner world that has always been trying to reach you. There is something about this exact moment that brought you here, something that cannot be easily dismissed as coincidence, and it may feel like your spirit has grown tired of waiting to feel fully allowed to expand. For too long, you have been the one holding everything steady, carrying responsibility with quiet strength, making sure things remain stable even when it cost you your own ease. And now something within that pattern is beginning to shift. There is a subtle but powerful turning point unfolding in your life, and it does not arrive with chaos or sudden disruption, but with a steady unfolding that feels almost like the ground itself is beginning to soften under what you have long carried. This week, especially around May 27th and 28th, 2026, there is a quiet opening, a kind of fertile moment that not everyone will notice, and even fewer will truly respond to in time. It is not loud or dramatic, but it carries the kind of change that reshapes your inner foundation, and it feels like something in your life is finally aligning after a long period of silent endurance. You no longer need to prove your worth in order to receive what is already moving toward you, because what you have carried through patience, persistence, and silent strength has already been recognized in ways you may not have seen. There is a quiet acknowledgement now, almost like the earth itself is responding to everything you have consistently held together, and a deeper part of life is gently whispering that it is time to allow yourself to receive. This message is not asking you to become someone new, but to recognize what has already been building beneath your surface all along. So take a moment and feel into this shift, even if you cannot fully explain it with words, because there may already be subtle signs appearing in your experience. You might notice recurring patterns, emotional echoes, or moments that feel strangely meaningful, and even dreams that seem to pull you back into places or feelings you thought you had moved beyond. These are not random experiences, but subtle alignments that reflect something within you beginning to reorganize itself into a new form of clarity and readiness. If you have ever quietly asked for a sign that you are not imagining this sense of change, then let this message meet that request with sincerity. Stay present with this video, because what unfolds here is not meant to rush past you, but to meet you exactly where you are and gently guide you into a deeper sense of inner acceptance and openness. It is a shift that moves you away from constantly striving for what you deserve and toward allowing yourself to receive it with a grounded heart and a sense of quiet certainty. Before going further, there is gratitude held here for your presence, for the way you are engaging with this moment, and for the quiet strength you have carried without always being seen. Every interaction, every sign of connection contributes to something larger than this single moment, forming a sense of shared understanding that may feel familiar even if you have never fully named it before. This is a space where recognition grows slowly, like roots settling deeper into steady ground. If something in this message resonates with you, then reflect on what has been stirring within you lately that brought you here. Notice whether your intuition has felt more present, more insistent, or more quietly aware than usual, and allow yourself to acknowledge it without overthinking it away. And in this moment, you are invited to hold a simple truth within you. I am rooted in abundance, and I am ready to receive what is meant for me. There is a quiet turning point unfolding within you, a Taurus soul, and it does not arrive with noise or urgency, but with a steady sense that something within your inner world is beginning to shift. It is not the kind of change that forces itself into your life, but the kind that slowly reorders everything from within, almost like the ground beneath you has begun to settle into a new shape. And if you are still here with this message, it is because something inside you has already started responding to it in ways you may not fully explain yet. For a long time, you have carried the role of the one who keeps things steady, the one who holds emotional weight so others can feel balanced, even when it meant setting aside your own needs. You have learned how to maintain peace in difficult spaces, how to soften your voice when tension rises, and how to stay grounded even when your own inner world feels stretched thin. But real peace is never meant to come at the cost of your own alignment, because what feels like stability on the outside can quietly become exhaustion on the inside when your truth is consistently held back. And now, something within that pattern is beginning to loosen, not through disruption, but through awareness that arrives in subtle, almost unnoticeable ways. You may not see dramatic changes or immediate rewards, but you will begin to notice small moments that feel strangely meaningful, like a conversation that lingers in your mind longer than expected, or a passing moment that seems to touch something deeper within you. Even a sound, a scent, or a brief memory may surface with unusual clarity, and these are not coincidences, but quiet signals reflecting an inner shift that is already underway. What is returning to you is not just external abundance, but something more foundational: your ability to choose with clarity, to feel with honesty, and to receive without hesitation. For so long, you have given without needing certainty in return, carried emotional weight without questioning its cost, and extended forgiveness even before you had time to fully process your own feelings. But now, life is no longer asking you to prove your worth through endurance. Instead, it is gently guiding you back to the remembrance that your worth has never been in question. This remembering does not arrive loudly or dramatically, but in simple, grounded moments where you pause and feel differently within your own presence. It may appear when you choose not to explain yourself unnecessarily, when you allow a clear no to stand without guilt, or when you recognize that something leaving your life is not punishment, but space being created for something more aligned. These moments carry a quiet kind of healing that does not need validation, because its truth is already felt in how naturally it begins to unfold. Even in the smallest parts of your day, something sacred is taking place, and it does not require external confirmation to be real. Sometimes, healing looks like choosing not to shrink in moments where you once would have. And sometimes, it feels like simply being present with yourself without judgment or pressure to become anything different. In this quiet acceptance, life begins to respond not because you have forced change, but because you have stopped resisting the truth of who you are. If you have grown up believing that ease must be earned through struggle, or that meaningful change must come with sacrifice, then a gentler truth is beginning to emerge now. There are forms of growth that do not require you to break, and there are forms of receiving that do not demand exhaustion in return. You are not being asked to lose yourself in order to become something new, because what is unfolding is not a replacement of who you are, but a return to a more aligned version of yourself. And so, if this moment feels quiet but significant, allow it to settle without forcing it into clarity too quickly. You are not falling behind, and you are not outside of what is meant for you, because what is meant for you does not move away from you. It begins to move closer the moment you stop bracing against it. And in that space, your life quietly starts to reorganize itself around a version of you that no longer needs to settle. There are moments in life when everything feels like it is quietly coming into alignment, not through dramatic shifts or loud revelation, but through a subtle sense of inner confirmation that something is changing. This is one of those moments, and it carries a grounded, Taurus-like stillness, where transformation does not rush in, but settles slowly into place. What is unfolding right now is not simply movement in the sky, but a deeper remembering of your own worth, one that no longer asks for permission to exist fully. In recent months or even years, it may have felt like love needed to be earned, value had to be proven, and even rest had to be justified before you allowed yourself to fully receive it. But there is a shift happening now, where that weight begins to loosen, almost like soil softening after holding tension for too long. This is not about breaking away from structure or discipline, but about restoring balance between effort and ease, between what you give and what you allow yourself to receive. At the center of this shift is a quiet reminder that you were never meant to place yourself last in your own life. You are not in a phase of becoming worthy, because that worth has always been present beneath everything you have carried and endured. What is changing now is not your value, but your relationship to it, as you move from constant proving into quiet arrival. There is also a subtle redirection in how you see your place in the world, as if life is gently encouraging you to step out of the background role you have held for so long. This is not forceful leadership or visibility in a loud way, but the quiet presence you naturally bring when you are fully grounded in yourself. It is the kind of presence that does not demand attention, yet naturally shifts the atmosphere simply by being steady and authentic. This unfolding is reflected through symbolic imagery like the Empress, representing abundance that has been growing quietly through your consistency, care, and unseen effort. It speaks to everything you have nurtured without recognition, the patience you have carried, and intentions formed long before any visible outcome appeared. In this moment, there is no need for proof or validation, because what has been planted in silence is now reaching its natural season of return. At the same time, there is a gentle reminder to stay aware and discerning as your energy expands and becomes more noticeable to others. When your presence strengthens, it can naturally draw attention, and not all of it will align with your well-being or intentions. This is why quiet boundaries, pauses, and observation become a form of strength, allowing you to protect what is still growing without needing to explain or justify your space. Alongside this, there is a sense of release that feels like a deep exhale after holding tension for a long time. It is the realization that striving is no longer required in the way it once felt necessary, and that your presence alone carries more value than constant effort ever could. Something you have quietly hoped for is not being ignored, but rather acknowledged in ways that are beginning to move toward you with subtle timing. All of this points toward a single, steady truth. You do not need to continue becoming enough, because you already are. There is a shift in frequency here, where life begins to respond differently, not because you have changed your effort, but because you have softened your resistance to receiving. In that space, things begin to flow more naturally, as what was always meant for you begins to reach you without obstruction. This is not about chasing what feels distant or uncertain, but about recognizing that what is aligned with you does not need to be pursued endlessly. It moves toward you in its own timing, meeting you in the space where you are no longer pushing against yourself. And in that realization, there is a gentle expansion into a more grounded way of being, where worth is no longer questioned, but simply lived. There is a quiet shift unfolding within you, carrying the steady, grounding energy of a Taurus-like awareness, where realization does not arrive suddenly, but settles slowly into your system over time. You have been taught to associate abundance with something visible and measurable. Yet what is emerging now is a deeper form of richness that begins within your own sense of self. This is the kind of affluence that does not depend on external validation, because it grows from the inside out, reshaping how you see everything you already are. You are already far more abundant than you have been led to believe, not because of what you possess, but because of the quiet intelligence, presence, and emotional clarity you carry. There is something about you that naturally influences the spaces you enter, softening tension, bringing balance, and creating understanding where things once felt unclear. This is not simply personality, but a form of value that moves through your presence, even when you are not trying to express it. In the time ahead, there is a sense that life is preparing a form of return, something that comes back to you not as surprise, but as natural response to what you have already given. This is not about luck or randomness, but about alignment beginning to reflect itself outwardly in ways that feel grounded and real. What may appear in your experience could look ordinary at first, such as something you once stepped away from, returning at the right moment, or an opportunity resurfacing with better timing than before. There may also be moments where something delayed finds its way back into your life, whether through recognition, opportunity, or timing that finally feels right after a long period of waiting. These are not coincidences, but reflections of how your energy is beginning to match the deeper truth of who you are becoming. As this alignment strengthens, life begins to respond more directly to the clarity you now hold. What becomes important in this phase is understanding that abundance often follows a quiet but steady clarity of identity. When you begin to recognize not only what you want, but who you are becoming, your external world starts to reorganize itself around that recognition. This is why the shift feels significant, because it is no longer about asking if something will come to you, but about stepping into the grounded awareness that you are already open to receiving. There is a simple comparison that reflects this process. Like a farmer who does not question whether the soil will respond after planting, but trusts the rhythm of growth that unfolds in its own time. The effort you have invested, often without recognition, has not been lost. It has been quietly developing beneath the surface, like roots strengthening in unseen soil, preparing for a moment of natural return when the timing is right. What you are experiencing is not random reward, but a form of quiet balance, where what has been given in silence begins to return in form. Your patience, endurance, and unseen effort have not gone unnoticed, even if they were never acknowledged outwardly. Life has been holding that energy, and now it is beginning to reflect back in ways that feel aligned and steady. As this alignment deepens, your relationship with value itself begins to shift, not only materially, but also in how you are seen, invited, and recognized. This can arrive through opportunities, exchanges, or moments of recognition that feel naturally timed. And in this space, the understanding becomes clear that your presence has always held worth, and that worth is now beginning to meet the world more visibly. There is a simple but meaningful declaration that reflects this shift. I am a soul millionaire. I allow myself to receive. As this settles in, perception itself begins to shift, and what once felt distant begins to feel closer and more accessible. There are rare moments where time feels more sensitive, as if certain thresholds are forming around you with quiet anticipation. This is one of those phases where subtle signs and repeated patterns begin to draw your awareness inward. Even if you cannot fully define it yet, something within you is already recognizing that this is not random, but part of a deeper unfolding still in motion. There are subtle signals moving through your experience right now, and they feel less like external events and more like quiet confirmations arising from within your own body and awareness. It is as if your internal world is shifting first, and only then beginning to influence how life around you responds in return. These moments are not random or meaningless, but gentle indicators that something deeper is reorganizing beneath the surface of your daily experience. You may notice yourself reacting in unexpected ways, such as pausing while looking into space without a clear thought, or feeling a sudden wave of energy when certain words or ideas like freedom or financial change come into awareness. These responses are not confusion or imagination, but reflections of an inner system recognizing change before the mind can fully understand it. In a grounded, almost Taurus-like way, your body becomes the first place where truth begins to settle. This is why it is important not to dismiss what you feel, especially when it seems subtle or difficult to explain. There is a sense that something within you is approaching a point of becoming, and instead of resisting or questioning it, you are being encouraged to trust the sensation itself. You are not overreacting or being dramatic. You are in a state of preparation where awareness expands before form appears. Within this unfolding, there is a symbolic layer through numerology, where 21 represents the completion of cycles that have gathered wisdom through experience. It feels like a long exhale after carrying something for a long time, where understanding replaces tension. In contrast, 22 carries the energy of building, of giving form to what was once internal through alignment and grounded intention. Between these two states, you are in a quiet in-between space, still connected to what has been while sensing what is beginning to take shape. There is no need to rush this transition because nothing is forcing you forward. Instead, you are being gently invited into it. This becomes an initiation point where your present awareness begins shaping what unfolds next. Astrologically and energetically, this is not something loud or disruptive, but a slow accumulation of inner work, reaching a point where it can no longer stay invisible. It is the quiet layering of healing, understanding, and emotional processing that has happened over time, often without recognition. That is why the shift feels subtle rather than dramatic, because it has been forming long before it became noticeable. In many cases, divine timing does not arrive through sudden breakthroughs, but through stillness and a quiet inner sense that something is aligning differently. You may feel a gentle pull toward something undefined, or a sense that your current state is no longer the full picture. In these moments, it is important to remain present without rushing interpretation or conclusions. You are not being asked to overanalyze every sign, but to develop a more embodied form of trust, where awareness is held through breath, presence, and your own body. This kind of faith is not abstract. It is lived through how you move, pause, and stay steady in uncertainty. If something unusual arises, a lingering conversation, a vivid dream, or an unexpected opportunity, it is important to meet it with presence rather than reaction. There is no need to rush interpretation, because part of this process is learning to sit with what unfolds until its meaning becomes clear in time. What you are moving through is not a missed moment, but a phase where awareness becomes more sensitive and awake. Healing here does not always appear dramatic. It often happens in quiet moments where the body releases what it has held for too long. Even physical sensations begin to reflect emotional weight now softening. And within all of this, there is a reminder that peace was never meant to come at the cost of your well-being. What is shifting now is the recognition that your stability does not require self-sacrifice, and that your body and inner world are asking for a more balanced way of being. This week, allow your body to take the lead in how you move through what you feel. Instead of overthinking, return to grounding moments that require only your presence. A slow morning walk under soft sunrise light, feeling your feet on the earth, is not just peaceful, it is your nervous system learning safety again, reminding you that stillness is not danger. You do not need to solve everything today or carry every question at once. Your body is asking for attention, not pressure. And when you listen, you may realize how much it has been holding silently. Financially, there may be a natural urge to regain control and feel more stable again. This instinct is valid, but real wealth is not only built through structure or saving. It is also shaped by awareness of the energy behind your choices. So gently ask yourself, not in judgment, why am I spending in this moment? Is it from grounded choice, or from emptiness, loneliness, or the need to fill something missing? Emotional spending can look like productivity, but often leaves you more drained afterward. You do not need more things to feel whole. What you need is space, mental, emotional, and spiritual. so what is aligned with you can actually reach you. Start by honoring what you already have instead of overlooking it. And begin shifting how you spend not just money, but emotional energy, especially in matters of the heart. There is also a deeper transformation in how you relate to love. You are no longer meant to love in silence, give endlessly without return, or shrink yourself to maintain connection. That version of you was survival, not your becoming. A new kind of connection is forming, one that does not come to repair you, but to grow something steady alongside you. You are not broken, and you do not need saving to be whole. The love aligning with you now carries truth, clarity, and mutual expansion. It does not require you to disappear in order to be loved. Stay open, but do not settle for anything that asks you to abandon yourself. There is a quiet reminder that life is not meant to be lived in lack, emotionally, physically, or spiritually. You were not created to just get by, but to experience wholeness, even in simple moments. That shift begins when you allow yourself to believe you are worthy of more than survival. From there, small changes become meaningful. You rest before exhaustion, drink water before depletion, say no without guilt, and say yes only to what brings ease. This is not a checklist, but a slow shift in how you treat yourself, rooted in the understanding that you deserve to feel safe and steady even as life unfolds. Healing is not a destination, it is a return, again and again, through how you choose yourself in small moments. And through that return, you begin to realize your worth was never something to earn. You are already enough. You have always been enough. The only shift now is that you are beginning to allow yourself to believe it. Take a slow breath, not to fix anything, but to remember you are still here, still present, still becoming. And from here, you no longer chase alignment. You begin to embody it. This week becomes less about waiting for signs and more about recognizing you are already living inside them.